The Doom Marine was originally a human from Earth who served in the Marines and was dishonorably discharged due to assaulting his commanding officer after refusing to fire upon a crowd of unarmed civilians, and was later transferred to the UAC Phobos base as security. The Marine soon found himself trying to prevent the demons of Hell from invading Earth. After having fought demonic hordes through Phobos, Deimos, and Hell, he returned home to find Earth now overrun by demons. Among the billions of people killed were his family, including his pet rabbit Daisy, giving him further reason to pursue hunting the demons. He continued fighting the horde on Earth before taking the fight to Hell once more. It is somewhat unclear if the lost episodes of Doom and Final Doom are the Doom Marine himself, or involve the concurrent adventures of various other Marines, as the Doom 3 game and expansions, and Quake 2 game and expansions explicitly do. But Doom 64 is meant to be canon. Following this, the Marine was decommissioned. Some years later though, he was called upon again to fight the hellish force attacking a space station, prompting him to return to Hell, where he defeated the mother of all demons. In order to save Earth, he decided to close the portal from inside Hell and continue the fight against the demons. The mother's sister, Resurrector, wanted vengeance, thus teleported him to Earth to kill him there. But he fought his way to Hell again and defeated her there. Once more, he chose to remain in Hell to fend off the demons. At some point, he somehow became stranded on the world of Argent-Anur, ending up in a different dimension entirely after his indefinite stay in Hell. He was possibly sent there by demons, like the Resurrector sent him to Earth in Doom 64. There he is captured by the world's inhabitants, the Argenta, and brought before the Order of the Deg in Sentinel Prime. The Argenta were unable to understand his language, and he was incoherent, as his mind was crippled with rage, and he only talked about demons. Amusingly, they described his English as an ugly tongue. The priests decided to put him through a trial by combat in the Blood Arena, in order to judge on whether he would gain his freedom. Eventually, the Marine, dubbed as the Outlander by the Argenta, proved himself to be extraordinarily skilled and earning the admiration of the Argenta. This garnered the attention of the clergy and ruling powers of Argent-Anur, including the Khan Maker herself, and despite being an Outlander, he was taken in and trained in their military, serving to spread the teachings of the Maker race. Inevitably, Argent-Anur was invaded by the demons, and the Marine immediately entered the fight, in which his fervour for their destruction soon caught the attention of King Novik, who deemed him worthy to join the Night Sentinels. Initially, the traditionalists of the Night Sentinels were very reluctant to allow the man into their ranks, as the order forbids from having arena-born prisoners or foreigners. But, over time, the Outlander earned their utmost respects, as he proved his skills and unwavering determination at slaying Hell's demonic legions and becoming the Order's brother-in-arms. The Marine participated in a pivotal battle against the Dreadnought, a monstrous titan sent to lead a total demonic assault on the heart of Argent-Anur. As the Sentinels were nearly overwhelmed by the demons, the Marine was approached by a Maker, known as the Seraphim, who offered his help to defeat the Dreadnought. He was brought to the Chapel of Purity and submitted to the Divinity Machine, blessing him with fierce speed and great power to match his will. Using his newfound powers, the Marine took the Crucible, a weapon held for a true Sentinel warrior king, and using it to slay the Dreadnought and planting the blade inside the beast's heart. Since then, the Sentinels deemed the Marine as a chosen hero, and he gained his infamous title, the Doomslayer. The Slayer led the Night Sentinels deeper into Hell, earning many victories and unwittingly allowing the Khan Maker to build factories in Hell's domains, to harvest Hell essence, to produce Argent energy, while endorsing the Slayer's name as the will of the Makers. The Slayer did not care about the society of the Sentinels and the Makers, as he was too focused on destroying the demons, and consequently remaining unaware of the Makers' insidious secrecy of harvesting Argent energy from mortal souls at the cost of working with the demons. After the truth of the Maker's betrayal was revealed, the Slayer remained loyal to the Sentinels opposed to the Khan Maker. After years of fighting in a civil war against both demons and the Loyalists who sided with the Makers, an opportunity to end the war was supposedly discovered. At the behest of the Order of the Day, the Doomslayer accompanied the Night Sentinels to Hell in the hopes of securing a final victory against the demons. However, they realized too late that the priests had betrayed them to the Khan Maker. The Slayer and the Night Sentinels were left stranded in Hell and endlessly fought the infinite demon hordes. One by one, the Night Sentinels were killed, save for the Doomslayer and Valen, the latter of whom allowed the demons access to the elemental wraiths in exchange for his son's resurrection. When Argent D'Nur fell, Valen, now known as the Betrayer, chose to stay in Hell for the remainder of his days in self-imposed exile. The Doomslayer, on the other hand, continued his endless killing spree. Over time, the demons themselves grew to fear him. A Titan was chosen as Hell's champion and sent to kill the Slayer, only to be killed by him. Having failed to kill the Slayer at every attempt, the demons instead lured him into a blood temple before collapsing the entire structure on top of him. Trapped beneath the ruin, the Slayer was entombed within a sarcophagus and frozen in stasis within the Kadingir Sanctum, preserved by the Dark Lord in order to use him against the Makers in the future. He would remain there for an extremely long time, until he was found and recovered by a Union Aerospace Corporation expedition led by Dr. Samuel Hayden while procuring demon specimens and Hell artifacts. Hayden led his forces in defeating the demons that fiercely guarded the sarcophagus and taking the Slayer to the UAC facility on Mars. Upon identifying the Slayer and his armour from within the Helix Stone and the developing suspicion of his employee and former protege Olivia Pierce, Samuel had the sarcophagus hidden in a concealed location within the UAC facility. Upon suspecting Olivia's pact with Hell and her plans for the Mars facility, Samuel intended to release the Doomslayer in the event of the UAC losing control of its demonic experiments. The Slayer is awakened after an unknown amount of time by Samuel Hayden during a demonic invasion of Mars triggered by Olivia Pierce. Upon breaking out of the facility, he proceeds to resource operations to repair a satellite dish in order to get a complete picture of the situation. Hayden stops the Slayer from accessing the information in question and guides him to a Vega terminal in order to give the Slayer an Argent cell to improve his suit. The Slayer proceeds through the foundry, stopping a meltdown by activating the terminals and then onto the Argent Tower itself. Despite instructions from Hayden, the Slayer smashes the filters channeling Argent energy to stop Pierce from opening a Hell portal. Despite this, upon reaching the top of the tower and confronting Pierce, she uses an Argent accumulator to break open the rift into Hell and warping the Slayer to Kadingir Sanctum. He fought his way through the Sanctum to the location where his sarcophagus was located in order to use the portal equipment left from a manned UAC expedition. Upon returning to Mars, he finds the UAC facility overrun with demons as the demonic portal allows them easy access to the Red Planet. He finally meets Hayden face to face, and Hayden instructs him in finding the Helix Stone to locate the well and end the Hell invasion, as well implanting a program into his suit that will allow him to teleport the Slayer back to Mars. The Slayer travelled to the Advanced Research Complex and retrieves the BFG 9000 before proceeding into the heart of the cult activity on Mars. He proceeds to the Lazarus Labs and fights the Cyber Demon before using the accumulator that powered the Boss Demon to teleport him back into Hell. He then fought his way through the Titan Realm and the Necropolis on his way to obtain the demonic Crucible. After defeating its guardians, he retrieved the Crucible and is greeted by ghosts of the Sentinel Knights. Before any exchange can happen, he is teleported back to Mars, specifically to Vega's primary facility. In order to reach the well and cut off the power source keeping the portal on Mars open, he has to overload Vega's systems to rip open a portal to the well. Before overloading Vega's core, however, the Slayer pauses and backs up a copy of Vega onto a thumb drive he takes with him. Finally, at the well, the Slayer fought his way to each of the Wraith bodies and used the Crucible to absorb their energy to cut off the flow to the portal. Once the final Wraith has been disabled, the Slayer is greeted by several Sentinels who stand guard around a pit leading to the final battle. Here he meets Pierce, bloodied and in shock that she was betrayed by her demonic masters. These same masters then hit her with a crimson lightning bolt, turning her into the Spider Mastermind. though it is ultimately killed by the Slayer. After this, Hayden pulls the Slayer back to Mars and keeps him restrained by the teleporter. He takes the Crucible from the Slayer, stating he would use it to continue the production of Argent energy for humanity's benefit. Knowing the Slayer would attempt to stop this plan, Hayden teleports the Slayer away to an unknown location. As a new demonic threat erupts on Earth, so does the Slayer, his iconic Praetor suit modified and upgraded for increased mobility and destructive capability. For the Slayer, it is a battle that has continued for an eternity, a fight that can only be won by confronting his past, if he hopes to stop history from repeating itself. Following the events on Mars, the Doom Slayer returned from his banishment with the Fortress of Doom controlled by Vega and finding Earth invaded by demons. Seeking to end the demonic invasion, the Slayer sought to eliminate the masterminds of the invasion, the Hell Priest Degs Nelox, Ranak, and Grav, while also coming into conflict with the Khan Maker, who authorized the consumption of Earth in order to harvest the souls of mankind into Argent energy, following the destruction of the Well. The Slayer first killed Deg Nelox, before confronting Ranak and Grav, displaying their dead colleague's decapitated head before them. The Khan Maker intervened, teleporting Ranak and Grav away, and failing to convince the Slayer to give up on his mission. The Slayer travelled to the Sentinel world of Exultia to retrieve the celestial locator that will allow him to find the remaining Hell Priests. There, he encounters the ghost of King Novik, who also tells the Slayer to give up his crusade against Hell and the Makers, claiming Earth is no longer his to save. The Slayer then travels to Hell to retrieve a power source for the celestial locator from the Betrayer, who also requests the Slayer to kill his son that has become the icon of sin and gives him a dagger to carry out the deed. With the celestial locator, the Slayer tracked down Ranak in the former UAC Arctic facility, defeating his Doom Hunters and decapitating the hapless Hell Priest with the Doom Blade. His actions caused the Khan Maker to move D-Grav to Sentinel Prime. Following Vega's suggestion, the Slayer embarked on finding Samuel Hayden to find the last Hell Priest. Travelling to the ARC complex, the Slayer roughly retrieved Hayden's damaged robotic body and recovered the Crucible, in which Hayden had anticipated his return and instructed his ARC caretakers to give the blade to the Slayer. While retrieving Hayden, a corrupted Night Sentinel, known as a Marauder, approaches and attacks the Slayer only to meet his end shortly after. Upon uploading Hayden's mind into the Fortress of Doom, the Slayer learns from him of Grav's location and that the only access to Sentinel Prime is through a portal in the city of Hebeth in Mars' core. The Slayer travels to a UAC facility on Phobos, where he uses the massive BFG 10,000 to blast a hole in Mars, which he uses to reach Hebeth. After arriving in Sentinel Prime, the Slayer fought and killed the Gladiator, and killed Grav by blowing his head up with his super shotgun. However, D-Grav's death on sacred ground caused the Slayer to be excommunicated from the Night Sentinels. Following the death of the last Hell Priest, the Slayer was temporarily trapped on the fortress by the Khan Maker, who remotely shut down the structure to prevent the Slayer from continuing his interference and revealing her intentions to awaken the icon of sin. However, the Slayer returned power to the fortress by using the demonic Crucible as its power source, and later travelled to Argent D'Nur to retrieve his Crucible that he used to slay the Dreadnought and used it to stop the icon. As the Crucible's blade keeps the Dreadnought from returning to life, the Slayer only took the Crucible's hilt and used it to forge a new blade. Guided by Hayden, the Slayer fought his way to the roof of Necrovol and used its portal to travel to the Maker realm of Urdak, where the Khan Maker prepares to awaken the icon. He interrupts the awakening ceremony and plunges the Betrayer's dagger into the icon's heart. This destroys the heart and frees the icon of sin from the Maker's control, and causing the massive demon to destroy the dimensional barrier between Urdak and Hell, thus allowing the demons to break their pact with the Makers and directly invade Urdak. The Slayer fought and killed an enraged Khan Maker before returning to Earth to confront the icon, but is forced to leave Vega on Urdak in order to open a portal to Earth. Following an intense battle, the Slayer kills the icon by stabbing the Crucible in its head. With the icon dead, along with the Hell Priests and the Khan Maker, demons were momentarily defeated. Despite having defeated the icon of sin and halting Hell's invasion of Earth, the Doomslayer's victory over the demons did not come without cost. The death of the Khan Maker and Hell's conquest of Urdak have given the demons a chance to dominate all dimensions and reinitiate their invasion of Earth. To prevent this, the Doomslayer, along with Samuel Hayden and ARC scientists, embark on a mission to find and liberate the Slayer's ally, the Seraphim. Travelling by sea on an Ark carrier towards the UAC Atlantica facility, the Slayer fights his way to the Seraphim's containment pod. When Hayden requests he be uploaded into the pod, it is revealed that he and the Seraphim are one and the same. After returning to the ARC carrier, the Seraphim tasks the Slayer to find and retrieve the Father's life sphere from the blood swamps of Hell in order to return the Father to physical form. After fighting his way through the blood swamps, the Slayer finds and retrieves the Father's life sphere. However, the Slayer chooses to destroy the sphere rather than hand it to the Seraphim, and instead retrieves the Dark Lord's life sphere before returning to the RC carrier. Despite most of the carrier's crew evacuating upon seeing the Dark Lord's life sphere, a lone intern stays to help the Slayer reach Urdak, assuming that the Slayer intends to resurrect and destroy the Dark Lord, which, in effect, will destroy all demons. Upon reaching the corrupted Urdak, the Doomslayer fights his way to the Luminarium, where anyone who has a life sphere may activate it. However, the Slayer is confronted by the Seraphim upon reaching the Luminarium's entrance. Consumed by Urdak's demonic corruption, the Seraphim is transformed into a demon, and after a lengthy battle is ultimately defeated by the Slayer and is teleported away by the Father. Despite being warned that bringing the Dark Lord into physical form is irreversible, the Doomslayer proceeds to summon him. The DLC picks up directly after the ending of Part 1. The Slayer fires a shot at the Dark Lord, but the Dark Lord informs him that no blood can be spilt in the Luminarium, and that, if the Doomslayer survives, he will be challenged in ritual combat in the capital city of Hell, Imra. The Dark Lord leaves, and the Slayer is transported to Argent Denur, where he fights off the hordes that attack him. He lights the Torch of Kings, an act that is strictly forbidden by the Makers, telling the inhabitants of Argent Denur and the remaining tribes of Sentinels that he seeks a Wraith Crystal to power the Gate of Devon. He travels on his dragon to the World Spear, where he meets the hologram of Valen, who gives the Slayer his, now blue, Sentinel Hammer. The Slayer discovers that the World Spear is not a crystal, but a colony ship, housing thousands of Wraiths. He takes the Wraith Crystal and heads back to a reclaimed Earth, whose invasion has stopped due to the death of the Icon of Sin. Fighting his way through the demons, he arrives at the Gate of Devon, activates it, and travels to Imora, where the Dark Lord is located. The Slayer makes his way past the demons outside the gate, and through the non-demonic people inside, goes through one final portal, where he meets the Dark Lord. He and the Slayer fight, revealing that the Father was not the Creator, and the Dark Lord in fact made Yekad, then the Father, then the Makirs, and all other realms to find the cure for mortality. Vega, the Father, confirms all of this to be true. Davoth is defeated and asks the Slayer if he has anything to say before killing his creator.
Tell me, have you nothing to say to your creator before you strike him down?
After the Dark Lord dies, all the demons outside of Hell disappear. The Doomslayer falls unconscious due to his connection to Davoth through the divinity machine, which was powered with a piece of Davoth. He is put into a sarcophagus by the Makers until he is needed again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive on the Doomslayer, consider becoming a member to support the channel. Membership helps us keep bringing you these detailed breakdowns, plus you'll get perks like early access to new videos and exclusive updates. Hit that join button if you're interested, and we'll catch you in the next one.